Hello, everyone. I am Lynn with Psychic Focus, and I want to welcome everybody for joining me today. I'm at a different location, and you will notice that. What a crazy week I've had, and I don't know about all of you and how your week has gone. So, for all of you astrology people out there, drop me a line, let me know because definitely a lot of weird energy. I went into this week feeling really hopeful and optimistic with it being February 22nd and that falling on a Tuesday. I mean, how cool is that? February 22nd, Tuesday, like literally a Tuesday. And so strange. And I know they say that things happen for a reason. And I really had one of those weeks where I had to just take a moment and pause and think about it. So, starting out this weekend, I ran into a situation where the Wi Fi all of a sudden just quit working. So, everything Ethernet in the house was fine, but the Wi Fi quit. And no rhyme, no reason, messing with modems and routers and all kinds of goodies. That's why I had to reschedule this from yesterday to today while I worked through some technical issues. And it's why you see me in a different spot. I'm sitting in my office versus sitting somewhere else because my laptop doesn't work. And so that made me think. I'm like, they always say, like I said, it's kind of cliche that things happen for a reason, but how many times do we really stop and think what that reason is? What are we learning from it? I mean, really, our goal is to learn and grow through experience. So, what are these experiences and what are these, setbacks or frustrations? What does all of this really mean in the end? And I realized from that we can't really count on all this technology, hardwired stuff that's been around forever. It works. My Ethernet, no issue at all. Anything Wi Fi in the house may work and it may not work. And there is really no logical explanation to it. And I don't know. That was really strange. Then another scenario happened that was really eye opening as well. And this weekend, the furnace quit. So that was a rather unexpected hit in a lot of different ways. So if you hear any noise in the background, I actually have a HVAC people in here installing a new furnace unit because the one that's in the house is cracked. So what is to learn from that? I learned a couple things actually, not even necessarily the furnace itself, but the difficulty in being able to get goods and services and what is really happening to the people out there. I had a couple different quotes come in, trying to get competitive quotes to figure out, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to handle the situation. And I realized in the process of that, people cannot get supplies unless they're certain, have deals and contracts with certain suppliers. People are going in different states trying to get stuff. People are waiting days or weeks to be able to get a furnace. I really got lucky because my brother is a contractor, works with contractors, and was able to have some connections, but not everybody is that lucky. And it really made me wake up and realize how dire things are. And I mean, it is just really sad times that we're we're in. So if there is something out there that you're thinking you need to do, or something tickling your brain, you're looking around your house and you're like, wow, I don't know about this mechanical, or I don't know, should I be working on this, that, or the other? There is no time like the present because it is very alarming when you go out to try to buy a part, buy anything, just how difficult it is to actually acquire those items and how long it might take. There's people out there waiting. I think someone told me, was it 16 weeks or 12 weeks to get a garage door on a garage they're building? I mean, it's just absolutely insane the amount of wait that people are having. So let me just tell you firsthand, if there's something you need and you can afford to do it in some way, I highly encourage you to go out there and do stuff. I mean, between the trucker thing going on in Canada, which that in itself is interesting, between the shipping containers that they're blocking, there are forces out there bigger than us trying to lock up the supply chain intentionally and trying to create strife and havoc, inflation. There's a lot of different things. So it's almost like every good thing and everything that people are standing for, there's also the opposite. It's like there is this polarity in everything out there where there's good, but then there's also another aspect of it that things are not so good. So always be mindful of that and always look at everything from a healthy skepticism and realize that you have to be proactive when you can. So that's my 2 cents. And I'm sorry if you see my eyes wandering around. I'm getting used to sitting at my desktop here versus my laptop, and I'm trying to pay attention to the feed, which thank you people that have joined in, and hello to all of you. I see all these nice comments coming over here and hands clapping, and so I do want to acknowledge everybody that took time to join me today, and I really, really appreciate you doing that. These are fun, and I'm so sorry, like I said, to at the last minute reschedule for today versus yesterday. But yeah, crazy week, crazy energy. How many of you have had that? I mean, I don't know. Astrology people, tell me what is going on. You enlighten me from that perspective. It just feels like very heavy energy, and things feel like we're being thrown into these massive, I guess, learning lessons and like hard lessons and hard realizations to really look at the world around us and discern what is good, what is bad. And in most situations, there's a little bit of both tied to every scenario out there. So, yeah. So moving on, I wanted to look at a few topics that people have sent through to me and also address a couple different posts that I've done. The one that really stood out to me, and I was looking at some things tied to it also today with some other questions that were sent to me, was the placebo shots that have been released. And I'm curious, you'll have to let me know in what area of the world you're in and what you suspect. Have you had high numbers? Has there been a lot of reaction? What's really going on? And I definitely get there's been some placebo shots released, people getting saline, and it's for a couple reasons. Think about it. And I was hearing these phrases. So when I do readings and I think about stuff, I'll have things play in my head like a movie. I might hear it, I might feel it, I might smell it. Things come to me in a lot of different ways. And a lot of times I'll have two ways come to me. I may see it and hear it. I may feel it and see it. It's almost like I get this confirming element with it. And so when I was thinking about this, I'm like, why would they do that? What motive would they have? If they want to inject all this stuff in these people, why in the world would you fake it? Because you'd want to take advantage of every opportunity you had. And then it dawned on me. It was like I was hearing it and I was watching this play out. One, they have to have an alternative for these people in power. So everything looks good. You get these political figures and we all know who they are. And they have to look like they're doing it right. And they have to be able to do it and not look like it's totally screwing them up and that they're not reacting to it. So they have to have alternatives out there. You can't have these people touting and bragging and telling how great they are. And you need to do this, you need to do this, save the world, all these virtue things that are happening. You can't do that and then have a reaction to it. So you have to have an alternative. So they have an alternative in place for that. You can't go and unleash this on the mass society all at once and then have 10% people pass away or have some horrific event happen as a result, or 20% of the people. So you have to dose it out in different areas, different geographic regions, and they have to do that so it has the illusion of being safe, because that's their backbone. You're doing this because you're virtuous. You're doing it to protect other people. You're doing it to stop all this. But nonetheless, they're just testing to see. It's such a social experiment. It's almost like an onion with all these different layers. They're looking to see how people react. They're looking to implement ways that they can control people and influence people. And the whole 5G thing, that'll play into it. And you'll see some future posts coming up regarding that too. And I've touched on that, how I think this shot is playing into the whole 5G realm as well. But, they're looking for ways to control people, ways to make people more docile, ways to make people more dependent on the system because of the health issues that result out of this. There's so many different things going on, and they're trying to, there's no other way to say it. They're thinning the herd. They're taking us. They're looking at us like we are animal livestock and thinning us out for their own personal agenda. It's really hard to control a whole ton of people, but when you start to thin us out, way more control. If you have 100 people revolting against you versus 10, who's easier to control? So of course they want to thin it down. They want to get it to where they can, um, come in and do what they want to do and rule over this. They want to give you the illusion that you have all this choice, that you have all these things going on. But in reality, when it comes down to it, you're just a cog in the same system. So yeah, there is a lot going on of why they're doing this placebo, but I definitely get that they are. And I see more of that. And I also see them doing variations of the shots, just kind of like how the flu, they do different things. Go do a drive around in the winter. You'll see one place giving out flu shot, next place giving out a shingle shot, next place giving out pneumonia shot. It's all designed by geographic location so they can test different things on different people and how do people react. Well, this being the beer bug shot, they're doing the same thing. They're taking different cocktails, sampling it out, but then they also have that back reserve that's the placebo that they can, whoa, this part of the this part of the country, they really got hit hard, so we need to back down a little and dilute this up, or the numbers are going to be too high. People will be scared and they won't want to do it. So, yeah, very, very interesting stuff going on with that. When I say there's evil people out there and sick people, I'll be honest, I do these readings and I think about this stuff, and it's just so almost deflating. It's really heartbreaking to think of where we have gotten, and how do we rectify it? How do we come out of this? People will send me videos, and I like to stay informed. I like to know what's going on in the world. I like to have my mind expanded and realize and look at things from different perspectives. And at the same time, and I'm sure you guys feel like this on the blog too. That's why I do try to change up the topics to give a little more lighthearted, a little more spiritual, little different things out there. But I mean, the state of our world, it's like how do we come back from where we are, because they have themselves so entrenched in so many things. I mean, now they're impacting food. They've already gotten our water and our air. I mean, through the chemtrailing. I mean, there's so many aspects that have been put under control. It is truly, truly like things need to be destroyed to be rebuilt. And I think that this ties into ancient civilizations and how we've existed before, been completely demolished either through natural disaster because Gaia has had enough and she has her metrics of her checks and balances too, or people have destroyed each other and then society comes back. And that goes into a whole other can of worms that I have really had cross my path a lot lately. And you guys have to let me know if you want to learn more about this because I find it really interesting. And that's talking about the Tartarian Empire and ancient times of Tartary, where most of what we see visibly as our planet was really inhabited by another civilization that was so advanced and so, I guess, beyond what we are even capable of doing now. And they were wiped out. And a lot of artifacts and beautiful historic buildings and all these kind of things were in reality remnants of that civilization and those that were able to survive through that time when things were demised. I imagine in my head how people have these doomsday shelters and bunkers and all this stuff coming out and emerging into the world and going and taking over these ancient structures, claiming them as their own, but in reality there's no way. They, even with today's technology, some of the things and some of the beautiful things that have been sculpted, we can't even recreate. So how with horse and buggy and candlelight and ropes and, um, all these primitive type tools, it seems illogical to me. Also, when you look at some of these structures, the enormity and the grandiose doorways and all this stuff. People are smart. Why would you build a 20-foot doorway if you're a 5-foot or 6-foot tall human? Most people wouldn't unless you have a reason to do so. So it is just so bizarre to me when you really critically think about it that people of this current civilization that we're familiar with built this. And the more I think about it, And I think about it in terms of how does that parallel with today? What is going on? There's 13 main families. You got the Rothschilds, all these people. I hate even saying what they are because I know that's just going to ding my YouTube, and they already shadow ban me enough. So if you can hit the like and share me, that helps me out a lot. But, there's these families, these pretty high power, very connected families that have seemed to rule this world since the beginning of time. The financial industry, they get into medicine, they get into, all these components of basically daily living and life. And they just, through usury and all this other stuff out there, have extracted all this wealth and basically made their way to the top. Um, and as I think about this, and I think about these ancient structures and all this stuff, and I'll get into some of the technology of it and how I see that in a minute, but it occurred to me that these families that are on the top, it's because they had some kind of ancestry tied to this Tartarian empire that survived. And when they came out, they knew. They maybe didn't have the intelligence to recreate it, but they knew to take it and they knew what it meant. Think about it. You have castles, you have all this stuff, but the way that they're designed, I mean, it really just, there's so many things that don't make sense about it. And so then when you go and you look at churches and you look at all these like old fireplaces, you see the little steeply thing, right? I mean, look at all these ancient buildings that have these things that look like antennas. I believe this civilization had some sort of electric that they were able to extract from the ionosphere, and they used those antennas to power things, whether they powered the building, whether they powered the immediate people around them. I've done readings before tapping into Tesla. I know that's like a big topic out there. People are curious about, thinking about, the Tesla coil. How does this stuff work? I always saw this image of this thing that looked like an antenna. And I saw a time when in our future, there will be like this thing that looks like an antenna that we put on the side of our house. And through that antenna, we're able to extract basically electricity from the atmosphere, and we'll be able to power our house through it. This isn't a solar thing. It's not a wind thing. This is purely just taking the electricity from the atmosphere. And I did that reading a long time ago. And then when I start looking at these buildings, and, of course I hear narratives that other people say, I'm like, you know what? That really resonates. That is exactly what they did. And Tesla, through some divine inspiration, was able to figure it out as well and do basically the same thing. He's paralleling what they did, whether it's divinely given to him, whether it's his intellect, regardless, he was able to figure it out. So you see all these churches, you see these steeples, you see all this stuff. I'm not even sure that the cross and all of those things aren't some kind of symbol of the way that energy flows and the way that these ancient people were able to extract it. And then look at fireplaces, how they have those little pointy things inside them when you go in these old historic homes. And then sometimes when I'm looking at it, I remember one time I was doing this reading and I was focused in on this fireplace, and it had the little pointy things in there. I don't even know what you call them. I don't know if they have a name. If they have a name, you have to let me know. And again, thank you. I see everybody populating up in my feed over here and leaving me some comments and things like that. So I really, truly do appreciate that. No, that was really kind of you. So I'm doing this reading and I'm seeing the little Steeply thing, and I'm like, I heard this voice in my head, and it was this immense laughter. And the way that it came through to me is they were laughing as I was focused in on it. They said, "You people, you don't even know. You're so," I mean, it sounds insulting, but they're like, "You guys are so stupid about this. You're burning wood in this device that's really meant to extract electric and power this house. The thing that you're using to be able to fuel the house and be able to give it power, you're burning wood. You're filling it with soot and smoke and doing all this." And it was just the strangest thing. So then I started really looking objectively. And again, There's a couple YouTube channels out there discussing this, and it really makes a lot of sense. And I apologize if you hear that noise. That's my furnace people installing a furnace. Again, I'm so sorry for that. So yeah, explore some stuff on YouTube for sure. Get back with me if you want to learn more about this topic. By all means, put through some questions. I've been focusing on it a lot. I mean, even things tied to electric, like Catholic. We talk about the Catholic Church, a cathode, part of electric. You know, there's just so much symbology between electric and church and religion. But churches with all their steeples, I get originally were like powerhouses for electric. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. I don't want to keep going on and on and on, but again, let me know what you think about this topic. And I just saw a thing come through about lighthouses, and lighthouses the same way. You see them in all the salt water, highly conductive, and a lot of churches were near waterways. A lot of old military bases, they're called star forts. They're near they're near water sources as well. So you have all this water, you have current, water, and current. The movement of water is current. And you have current and electricity. You have the whole cathode thing in the Catholic Church. You have, I mean, there's just so many different references in our language. And I think language is important when we stop and think about what we say and why we say it and why are things called the things that they're called. You can see that there is some kind of relationship, and we're just dipping our toe in what is the truth of what they're actually telling us. Uh, on the whole topic of language, not to go on a completely different tangent, but over in Latin, the whole breakdown, when you break down the word pharmacy and pharmacology, is actually poison. And I'll leave you with that as well. I'll let your mind percolate where these terms came from and why it's actually called what it is. So, yeah. And see, what else do I have jotted down here? People, oh, they were wanting to know about, and I'm going to do a post on this. I pulled this together and I was looking at it today. What I do is I make a list and I look at it and I'm just drawn to certain things. I see a topic, I'll see a word, and I'm like, yes, that's the one I'm doing today. But I was working on one, and a couple of different people had asked me about, you have all these solar panels and you have all these batteries and they have all this push for the green energy stuff. What are they going to do with all this stuff when it goes bad? You throw that in a landfill. How long does it take for that to break down? So you have this whole big green energy push, and you have all these people wanting all these natural stuff, but the result of it is more polluting and more wasteful than what it is saving. It's the result of it is not a good return on the investment as far as when you're talking green and you're talking about the planet and things like that. So what does that mean? And I get, and I had someone else send me, people send me stuff all the time and I love it because it makes me think and it makes me get outside my own head. But, they were talking about how there's this green energy push, but really what's behind it. And I get what they're doing. This really resonated with me and it really confirmed a lot of things I already somehow knew, that what they're doing is they want ultimate control. If they can, like your vehicle, this is a perfect example. If they take your vehicle and they say, you know what, we're either going to tax you to death to buy gas, we're going to limit the amount of gas, and we're going to force you to go electric. So what does that do? If they make you, they're going to make money off people that have gasoline cars, because the realism is not everybody can afford electric cars. But when they force people to go electric, you're only able to go as far as that car can take you. So you're not doing long distance. You're not maybe being able to flee when you need to if your car's not fully charged. It makes it a lot harder to escape or a lot harder to travel. You have to really plan and think about what you're doing. You're not getting as easily capable of the impromptu stuff. Everything has to be very planned out. Then take it a step further. Who's controlling our weather and allowing us to be able to have the electric through the solar power to be able to charge this electric vehicle? It's a whole domino effect. And all of these people in this green energy stuff, they're the ones at the top making money, but they're also the ones ultimately controlling where you go, how far you go, how easily are you able to charge your stuff. They're doing it. They can hit and miss different cities. Oh, we have a city over here. They're a little rebellious. They're trying to, not embrace what's going on. Oh, we'll just give them some cloud cover and storm so they can't use their solar power because they don't have the gasoline and they've had to convert over. And by doing that, you're really limiting the amount of travel. On top of that, what are you doing to the semi drivers out there delivering goods and supplies to, say, rural areas or cross country and all of that? They're trying to get these battery operated trucks out there that are basically controlled by remote. They've been trying to push that forever, these driverless cars. Well, this trucker movement is a gateway to be able to do that. Don't trust Elon because he's right there with him. Listen to what he says, but take it with a grain of salt. Might be a little bit of truth, but most likely not 100% truth in what's going on there. So I just had this feeling of this week of, with the things and the oddity and the things that have happened to me, to really look at things objectively. Everything bad, they're seemingly bad. What are you learning from it? And also realize that everything out there that seems like it's good and it's virtuous, and yes, we're saving the planet and we're doing all these things. Who's behind that message? What are they saying? Who's really making the money? And what is it? Is it about control? Are they really in the highest and best good? Or is this more about being able to lock down people in cities, making people live in little, community pods or whatever, walking? I mean, even now with all the Ubering and all the Lyft and stuff, they've deterred people from even feeling motivated to get a license and go out and drive, because you can have your food delivered, you can have someone come pick you up and chauffeur you around. I remember back in my day, and I'm not going to date myself, and please don't try to even guess, when you turned 16, that was freedom. You didn't care what kind of car you had, you wanted your license for the most part. There was always a few people that were nervous or just didn't want to do it, but for the most part, it really wasn't too unheard of for kids to want to rush and get their license because they could go and they could do stuff. But nowadays, there's a lot more kids that are just unmotivated, between public transportation, between, having people do all these things for you. They're taking the individuality, they are taking the motivation, they're taking all that stuff and the autonomy away from people. And everything that they do that deters you from being able to take care of yourself or be independent is shifting control onto someone else. And it is a very slippery slope. They want people in high-rise apartments versus houses. It's just, I just see this trend happening. Look at the cities around you, between the condos, the high-rise apartments, the cluster housing, they're doing it. And go price land. It's expensive. It's a commodity. That's something to invest in, I'll tell you, if you can, because it is going to be, it's non-renewable, as far as, you can't create more of it. What it is what it is. And people that are really nervous and rejecting what's going on are trying to get away from it. But on the flip side of it, if they start to control the gasoline, which I have seen it in certain areas, they have limited no more than 30 gallons worth, or they tax it so much you can't afford it. Once that happens and supply chains get broken, so that's another reason to encourage the trucker movement, at least the people at the top, it is really a slippery slope. So just watch what you're wishing for, and by all means support those who stand up for themselves, but also look for, if it's not being stopped, what else is going on? I mean, even just like in Canada, now they're trying to seize accounts and they're trying to do all this stuff. How, that's a violation on a whole nother level. That's like a whole nother different live stream. But yes, so crazy times that we are living in right now. And I don't know, God bless. Please help us, right? Just put that positivity out there, do what you can, live your truth. And I think I'm going to close for now because I hear a lot of drilling in my background and I don't want to annoy you with all of my added commentary that is happening out there. So thank you again for joining my live chat, and I thought I would do it every other week on Wednesday at noon, if that works for everybody. Again, leave me a comment, let me know. And I appreciate all the support. Don't forget to like and share my work. It really does help me out. And I will leave you with that. Thank you, everybody, and you take care. Have a great day. Bye.